be able to point to specific projects in their portfolio.
Yeah, certainly the sort of this what you call the portal or advertising web page. That's a good fit for just for front end web technologies like Less and JavaScript.
Mm-hmm.
As for trailer, I don't know. I suppose that's I was gonna say that's maybe more something you would that's the sort of thing you would make as a video file.
Yeah.
Rather than, I suppose you could try animations, but it would be I think it would be easier probably do that as video.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I suppose game development. If you're going to embed it in Invention Universe, I guess that kind of depends on what the way Invention Universe is built, as far as what we could use to make games for Invention Universe.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. I don't want to burn too much time here, but so we just want to get your feedback, guys, so that the webcasts we plan are responsive. Jacob, do you like to present some? Well, go ahead. I'll just hand the ball off to you, Jacob.
Okay. Okay, so why don't I do a really quick, I think Isla and Dana, I know have been here a couple times, probably worth just doing just a couple minutes review of what we talked about the last couple weeks. Okay, I'll need to share my desktop here. Okay, so we've been looking at Less. Less is it's a language for writing styles for web pages, much like CSS. Less has a few cool tricks, cool features that just vanilla CSS doesn't have. And so we've been kind of starting to look at the things that Less can do, and kind of the way we've been doing this is we've learned a new trick in Less, and then kind of handed it off to one of the interns to edit maybe a part of their personal web page to leverage some of the cool things that Less can do to make their mainly to make their styles more organized and easier to read, easier to maintain. Those are the kind of the big benefits of Less over just using CSS. So a quick recap of the Less trick that we looked at last week. Let me pull over. Okay, so here's a web page that we sort of built last week. It's just simple to use as a demonstration. Here is the HTML behind that page. So we have one class, or we have one div that has class A, and another one that has class B. We even have some HTML inside of it, an H1 and a link and just a paragraph. And important to note here is that we are we're linking in our less style sheet just like you would link in a CSS style sheet using a link tag in the header. And then also important is this script, which in this case we are linking to what's called a CDN, which is where this is a JavaScript file that's being hosted on some big company's server or a nonprofit organization's server that they're providing just as a service to everyone. And so we need that script there because browsers don't understand less on their own. They understand CSS out of the box. Every browser understands CSS, but they don't understand less. At least they don't yet. And so we have this script that will sort of translate our less code into CSS for the browser. So that's why this is here, and that's really the key part of the as far as getting less to work in this file. Then we just have some demo HTML code here. And if we look at our actual less file, again, this should look pretty familiar. Again, less is just like CSS except with a couple extra tricks. And the thing that we looked at last time was called nested rules. So whereas normally, if you want a rule that selects, if you want a selector for the H1 element that's inside a class A, you would have to type it like this. Whoops, what's going on? Yeah. You would type the containing selector, and then a space, and then the H1. And so this would indicate an H1 that's inside of a class A. But with less nested rules, we write it like this, where we have a class A, and we open the curly bracket, and we can have some rules that are just for class A in general, and then we can have these rules that are for H1s, that's for anchor tags that appear inside this class. So we have this sort of nice, concise section of our less code that's for this class A and everything that occurs inside. And then we have the same sort of setup for class B, which is the second one. Yeah, so again, the equivalent to this, if we weren't using nested rules, is we'd have to have three separate sections here. We'd have one just for class A that would have like this stuff, and then one for the H1 that's inside class A, and then a third section like so. And all these three rules together are the equivalent of this thing. So that's nested rules. It's just a way to keep things organized. Depending on it can really depending on how many how deep the nesting goes, it can really save you a lot of typing. Because for example, you might have spans inside of H1, and you might have some class inside that span, and so the nesting can go pretty deep. And so instead of typing out like 5 selectors in a row, you can do this nesting thing, and that can really make things more organized and less painful to write. Okay, so anything with the with class A will receive anything with class A is going to have this border color red and this background color blue, and then an H1 will get the color white and this font if it's inside of a class A. If it's inside of a class B, it'll get this color yellow and this other font because it's inside the class B section here. And that's what's, you can see that's what's happening over here. Here's the div with class A, and the background color is blue, and this is an H1, the color is white. And then in class B, you can see the background color is red. Whoops. And the H1 is yellow there. So that's nesting rules. Pretty straightforward. Once you see how that works. I should mention that when you go to the less website, in case you ever want to do some extra reading, the language features here is a great place to start. I know they say on the front page, they say getting started, but I think the language features tab, where they just go through all the little tricks that Les does, I think is a great place to get started, because it kind of goes through and talks about all these different, all the different cool features, and some of them are pretty advanced and complicated, but especially the ones at the very beginning are pretty simple and are pretty useful. The next thing we're going to talk about is variables, using variables. Let's say I've decided that with these, let's say I want this border color to match this background color. So yeah, they're both red right now. Let's say I want to make sure that those stay the same color. And likewise with the blue background here. Let's say I always want these two colors to be the same. So the way I have it right now is I am specifying that color right now in two different places. I have it on the background. I have the Class A background color and the Class B border color. So I have that color right now in two different places in my code. And so, I might, there's a chance I might accidentally change it, decide, I want to change it, but I only change it in one place, and I forget the other place, and now that's not what I want. What I can do instead is with less, I can create a variable, and what do I call this? Background color A, and why don't I go ahead and give this a value, and I'll make that a hex color. I think that's sort of bluish. Okay, and now what I can do is I can use this variable in a couple different places in my code. And let's refresh to see that. Okay. You see the color changed a little bit. I'm not using just straight blue anymore. I have this sort of hex color. But now you can see if I want to change, if I change my mind, I want to come up with a different color scheme. Oops. I want to use a different color scheme, what I can do is just change it in one place up here. Say I want to make that a kind of a brighter, I think that will make it sort of a brighter blue. And there we go. I just need to change it in one spot, and it updates everywhere else in my code. And this is
Jacob, I'm sorry, Jacob, for interrupting. Could you? I can't tell the difference between the blues. Could you really demonstrate that instead of making it 000DD, make it FF00000, so it's pure. Oh, that's red. Excuse me. That'll conflict
sure.
with the
Well,
other one.
that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
So if I want to change the color here, I just change it once, and now it's very different.
Great.
In both places, and that's the key. The key
Great.
point here is that I can reuse this variable multiple places.
Great.
And just for now, since I only for this demo I only have two, it wouldn't be that bad to just change both of them. But you can imagine if we had a big site and that color was appearing in a bunch of different places, it would be super helpful to have that in a variable.
Can you not do that with CSS?
You cannot make variables like this with CSS.
I see. Okay. Okay, great. Very useful. So you'd have to have a CSS statement for the background of the first one and for the border of the second one.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, Jacob. Is there an exercise that we could give David, Brent, Dana, and Isla to do this on their personal website?
Yeah, I think so.
Or another exercise.
So was there a question from the crowd?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment on this.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna do. Can you do variables for fonts? Because I want to use like a font for most of the things on my website without having to go like every single thing has to have.
I believe so. You can use variables for a lot of different stuff. I know you can. It's obviously you can use it with colors, and you can use it with pixel values like this. This 300 pixels, we can make that into a variable. I'm going to just really quick. I'm going to make a variable for my other background color here, and then we'll take a look at. Oops, didn't get the @ sign. Variables always have to start with the @ symbol, like a Twitter handle. Okay. All right, there we go. Okay. Okay, so two questions. Brent just sent in a good question too. Okay, so first question is, can we use less variables to specify fonts? And I actually don't. Let's look at the details here. Yeah, I don't see why not. So let's try it actually. Let's say we have a we'll just call it test font for now, and we want to make that our sans serif font. And in fact, why don't we give it a more descriptive name like that? Okay. And now let's try using that font here and here. And now if we Yep, you can see that that font changed in those situations. Yeah, so that works. That's pretty cool. Brent had a question. I guess he sent it privately, but I'll go ahead and answer it publicly. Can you generate CSS from PHP? And certainly, you can generate pretty much anything you want to from PHP. What you generally would not do is you would use PHP in a .php file, and that would include a separate and you would include a CSS file or a less file from there. You probably would not be you probably for example, you probably would not be using PHP to generate what we're seeing on the screen right now. You might use PHP to decide. You might use PHP to put certain classes on your HTML code. So if we have CSS here, we might have PHP that decides whether to make this class A or class B or something else. And then you would have CSS behind the scenes to have different rules for class A or class B. That's usually how you would differentiate between. That's how you would, if you needed to dynamically create different styles, that's generally how you would do it. Or, sometimes you might have an entirely separate style sheet, depending on something that's dynamically generated. For example, at my company, we make websites that other companies use. And sometimes we have the same website that's used by multiple clients, but they each have their own logos and their own color scheme and their own little style things. And so, using we have server side. We don't use PHP, but we use server side code that would say which style sheet to use, and then we have a whole separate style sheet for depending on which company is using the site. So that's how you does that sort of kind of answer your question, Brent? Okay. Cool. So there we go. With variables, what I think I'd like to do now is we'd like to turn it over to some of our interns. If you guys, if one of you has like a page that you've made, if it could be part of your personal website, and you think that maybe we can find a situation where it would be helpful to use one of these less variables. And so why don't we, do we have a volunteer to... I'm sorry?
I volunteer as tribute.
Okay. We've got a Hunger Games fan. I have not seen the newest Hunger Games movie yet, so no spoilers. My philosophy with Hunger Games is that I wait till it comes out on Netflix. That's my philosophy. Yeah. Okay. So, Dana, I know your personal web page. You're having some hard drive troubles. Do you have a web page to work with? If not, I can share some files with you to get you started.
Well, I have my webpage uploaded to Mention Universe. I've been doing some things with it on my hard drive that had not been uploaded yet that I lost because I forgot to back them up.
Okay.
But I'll show you what I have
Okay,
uploaded.
that'll work.
So,
All right, I'm gonna pass you the ball.
oh, I just put my link in the chat, but okay.
Oh, okay.
All right, one sec. Oh, I'm in full screen mode, and the Mac. Wait. Oh, okay. I'm still getting used to Yosemite, so a little bit.
While Dana's setting up, may I ask a question, Jacob?
Sure.
So I understand that David developed his website all in Bootstrap, or one of his websites, and within Bootstrap, is it possible to use less?
Yes, it is. In fact, Bootstrap itself was built using less. When you go to download, Bootstrap, you have the option of downloading the original source, which is in less, or sort of pre-compiled CSS, which is like we talked about how we have to translate less into CSS before the browser understands it. Well, they have some what we call pre-compiled less, which is translated into CSS already.
Great.
And that's, I think, when people start out with Bootstrap, they tend to use just the CSS at first, but it's much more useful when you know how to use less, and you can use the original less source for Bootstrap. It's works out a lot.
Thank you. So Bootstrap and less are married, if you will.
Yes.
Terrific.
Yes.
Terrific. That's not the case with WordPress, I presume, or some of the other.
I'm not super familiar with WordPress. So I think WordPress is primarily a back-end framework, and I think you could use. Okay, Brent says the themes that he uses there in the chat box says they usually use less, which is interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's sort of independent of any particular front-end technology.
Good. Sorry to interrupt. Looks like Dana's ready.
Cool. This looks great. Look at this.
So this is the homepage. It has a little GIF, and I have a toolbar that in my beta that had been lost. It had a border and a background around the toolbar to make it a little bit more distinct.
Sure.
Then I'd updated the font to be Arial, but I'd been testing it multiple times and I was having some trouble getting it to work.
Okay.
So
we can.
I also need to update some links because some of the links still go to my old YouTube account and things like that. So most of the pages still work well, and I changed some of the colors when I had uploaded it, so now it's white on blue, so that looks a little bit easier to read.
Yeah.
The games page I need to make more readable, obviously.
Yeah.
It's really hard to read, but Scratch has an embed code that you can get for any of the games that you made.
Hey.
Quite well. I don't know why, but the full screen mode doesn't work though. So.
Dana, this is great. I love what you're doing here.
Thanks. But yeah, all of the games still work inside of the inside. They just don't go full screen.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Okay. So.
Quite well.
Yeah, that's cool. What does the CSS look like for this page? Do you have a separate CSS file?
Well, if I can, I'm on my Mac, so I do have a separate CSS file, which I'll find. I'm on my mom's account right now because I'm just having a lot of bad luck. My account on the Mac for some reason won't connect to the internet. So everything is.
There's developer or view source or developer tools. Either of those would work.
Here's the HTML for the homepage.
Okay, and looks like you actually have a couple different style sheets, which is cool.
Well, it's because originally they're both actually the same thing, but I forgot to delete the old name.
Oh, okay.
So I need to find which one's the wrong one. I think, okay, so this is the wrong one. Um, is this the right one? Yeah, so blueorange.css. This is my CSS file for everything.
Okay, so this is actually covering your whole site here, which is great.
Well, the problem I'm having is that I tried using the font dash face, and I had no such luck doing so.
Font dash family is the one is what you're looking for, I bet.
Oh, I thought that was font dash face, not font dash family.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
yeah.
there could be something that's font dash face, although the what I've I'm not the world's best expert on CSS rules. I always have to look up in the documentation.
I don't remember too much.
But
Yeah, most
okay.
everything works pretty well. The only problem is that the red on the orange in the scratch page needs to be changed because that is so hard to read. Like, I can barely even read that.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to change the font color to something else on all of the pages because red is just too hard to read on
Yeah.
most screens.
Okay, so could we look at the CSS again?
All right. Yep. Here it is.
Okay, so I know it would be kind of difficult to just because these are pages that are actually online rather than on your home computer. But maybe could we copy and paste this into a file and just change around the file a bit just to kind of demonstrate, just get some practice writing less stuff here.
Could we do it? Wait, could we do it with you sharing if I give you the link to my website? Because this is my mom's account. Like I said, it's not mine.
Okay.
Yeah. So one sec, I'll put the link in the chat because I put the wrong link in the chat last time.
Okay.
Wait, where is it? I can't find it. No, that's document. Where is it? No, that's not.
Here,
No.
I've got the
Oh my god,
link,
no.
the link you sent at first was close, so I bet I can.
Oh wait, I need to stop sharing my desktop to get through that. Okay, this is the correct link. Let me put it in right now.
You can go ahead and pass me the ball back.
Alright, I don't know how to do that.
So if you find, you've got, okay, yeah, if there's a participants list and you just double click. Here's this. Obviously, some of these links are going to be broken, and the image is probably going to be.
Yeah, and some of the links might also be really broken because they lead to old websites, like my old YouTube account, which I can't figure out how to delete.
Yeah, that's fine. So first comment is that the CSS files ideally would go in the head. Just by
toolbar.css.
Okay, the toolbar can go away. Yeah, the CSS would normally go in the head there. That's just kind of convention of where we put CSS files. So to use less, here we go. Again, we can download it and link it as a JavaScript file, or we can use a CDN.
I prefer the CDN. It seems a little easier.
Yeah. There we go. So now if I were to make a, in fact I will here. Whoops, this, put that in the site root, there we go. Add a less file. Okay. And for now, I'm just going to copy over. I can find it here. All the CSS already. I realize we're coming up close on. Just a random bracket there. So coming up close on 11 o'clock Boston time here, so I'll try and make this quick.
Yeah.
So I see one, just off the top of my head, I see one spot where a variable could be useful, and that spot is the border radius, right? So let's say I wanted to define a variable that we could reuse here and here. Could someone in the chat box maybe type that line of code for me where I create a variable? Remember, what does a variable start with?
The @ symbol.
Yep. Okay. And then border radius, I guess. And then we can call that 25 pixels. And we can put that in those two spots. And then I'd need to link in this this style sheet, and it shows you how to do this on the less website. So I'm replacing that just plain CSS file with this less plus the script. And let's see. Oops, that's still. Toolbar class.
I don't think. Oh, I do have a class.
Class toolbar ID toolbar 1.
Oh, I remember why I made toolbar.css. I made it because I thought that I was really confused about classes, and I thought that naming the CSS file for the class would make it work.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Okay. Well. First of all, I would instead of making this a div 3, just make it a div and give it a class. And try that. That should work. Whoops, I broke it. Oh, because I didn't change the.
CSS leads straight to a div 3 instead of a class.
So I would.
Change it to
Where's
class.
the div 3? Here we go. I'll change the HTML too. Yeah, that's probably the issue, is that div 3 thing. Okay, so, sorry, John, we're going over here.
Yeah.
I hope I think everyone kind of gets the less variable thing. I think that was kind of the big topic for the day.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Great.
Great. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Next week, preview of next week is something called mix-ins, where we can. That's where we start getting really cool stuff in less. So.
Okay. All right. Great. Isla, before you go, Isla and David, can you give us I get the impression that this is right on target, Dana, for what you like to do.
Yep.
Isla, are you more interested in developing stuff like videos or is this, or would you prefer to stay with Jacob and optimize your code?
I like both. I mean, I'm interested in like making my website better and like advancing like the coding that I'm using. I really like that, but I also like video. So I mean.
Okay, great. That's great feedback. So you followed this just fine. You understood the advantages of what Jacob was proposing?
Yeah, the first one, like when we first started doing it, it was really confusing. But then like after this, I feel much more like confident with it.
Fantastic.
I was really confused at first, but now it doesn't seem to be as complicated as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Great. David, can we get some feedback from you? Is this in line with your interests, or would you?
I mean, I think it's in line with my interests. I like building websites.
Okay.
I think it'd be really cool. The variable thing is, I think, would be useful for like updating and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I know I have on my Optimize website, I have to write everything twice, once for the mobile version and once for on bigger laptops.
Oh, that's a no-no.
So like set the text box as a variable or something.
Yeah.
Maybe, and then do it from there.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so you're following this fine, and you see applications for your own work and what Jacob is presenting here.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Onward. Have a great week, guys, and see you next week. Next